Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Voices of Forestry podcast. I'm your host, Seth Stephenson, the communications coordinator with the Arkansas Forestry Association. And this month, we are sitting down with two guests to discuss forestry and forestry businesses and their impact on smaller communities. Before we introduce our guests, I do want to give a special shout out and a thank you to our new sponsor this month, Visual Forester. We're going to hear a little bit more from them later on in this episode, but we want to give them a special shout out and thank you, as always, to our sponsors at the top of the episode. But for now, let me introduce my two guests. We have Frank Wilson and his son, Harrell Wilson. Frank is the founder of Wilson Brothers Lumber Company. And gentlemen, thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seth.
Now, one of the reasons we got you guys is Wilson Brothers Lumber Company is celebrating its 50th anniversary in 2022. I know this episode is going to be our first 2023 episode, but 2022 marked 50 years of Wilson Brothers Lumber, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So, Frank, if you don't mind, if you could give us a little bit of a history. I know 50 years is a lot of history, but if you could give us a little bit of history of the company that you and your brother started.
I'll try to highlight it the best I can. So, my two brothers and I, Grady and Jewel Wilson, we had always worked close together and are in some type of a forestry related, and we had a cattle farm and farming and things like that, and we were always close together. And in 1972, matter of fact, when Harrell was a baby, we decided to buy us a little small sawmill to just cut up a little bit of lumber around and play with it a little bit more than what we had no sawmill experience at all. And we did that, and the expense we had in, we said, well, let's sell a little bit of stuff until we get our money back and go with it from that way. Well, from that, we'd hardly ever used any of the lumber. We kept selling. It was the need was greater than we ever even anticipated. We didn't know what the need was going to be. So it kept growing and growing and part-time, and I think it was about 1983. My two brothers, by the way, worked at the Cotton Belt Shops, which was Southern Pacific at that time and later became Union Pacific. And I was working with Weyerhaeuser as a forester procurement manager at the Pine Bluff Paper Mill. And so we started playing with it on the weekend, and it kept growing on the weekend. And pretty soon, by the time my nephew, Jeff Wilson, he was about ready to graduate from UAM at that time. And so he and I talked about starting full time. We said, well, we'll do a little bit of logging, do a little bit of sawmilling, and do a little bit of forestry consultant. Well, that didn't work out too good. It ended up all sawmilling again. So it kind of kept going back to the sawmill. And so I think it was 83 when he came on. Was that right, Harrell?
It was 83, yeah. I had to double check.
And so we started full time then, and later on, his brother James came on with us, kind of running the logging operation that pertained to that. And I worked as a salesman with lumber and also dealing with landowners buying timber and contract truckers. So it went from that, and then I don't know the time frame exactly when my brothers decided that they would retire from the railroad and start full time. But from that, we just kept growing, and we had a Tri-W logging company, which was dealt with our contractors, landowners, and kind of our land management, and kind of took care of the land that we had bought. And we later formed an A&W logging, which we ended up the kids own it, that does the actual logging, and we went from that. And then later on, our business just kept growing to the point that we we finally had to decide that we was either going to have to build a new mill or rebuild the one we had, and we did. As you can imagine, none of this was planned out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had no plans to start with, so the location that we had and the mill we had wasn't very suitable to add to or to renovate. So we decided we'd build the new mill. And 5 years ago, last November, we started up the new mill that we built, and it was it's been very, very enjoyable to work with compared to the old one that we had. And so that's in this deal, I think it's kind of interesting, and from others, I had two sons, Harrell and Jeremy, and my son-in-law Alex. They all worked in the business, and then Grady's three sons, James, Jeff, and Brad, they worked within the business. Mm-hmm. So we had a real close relationship from the business standpoint. Jules' two children, they went into other parts of the business, and of course later on that we bought out Jules' part of it, mm-hmm. and we have had I'd say, but between that and the relationship that we had with the community, you can see we've got 6 kids out there, and they've had a very large impact on the community. Mm-hmm. And while he was in school, after school, and all the opportunities that we've had to do certain things.
So it sounds like it just kind of started as one of those hobbies that you and your friends get going, and it grows and grows and grows until it's something completely different at this point.
Yeah, we never intended it to be a business. It grew into a business, and we never had any idea the size the business mm-hmm. would finally end up into this way. When me and my 2 brothers put it together, we had no intention of any other family being part of it, mm-hmm. and it just grew from that.
So Harrell, if you could explain what your role is, because I'm sure growing up seeing this happen, and this I'm not sure where it was at when you were a kid, but seeing this business as a kid and then eventually as an adult making your career out of this. I mean, what was that like for you?
Well, I'll kind of start from the beginning as well, because I remember making the decision to work in the business, because I knew my cousin was going to, and it had been a full-time business about 7 years before I was going into college. So I had competed in forestry contests with the FFA in high school, and very interested in that, really enjoyed it, and through that decided I wanted to major in forestry at UAM. So I told Dad that, and told him that I would like to go to work in the family. I like living there in Rising. I liked doing that, being around close to family. It was comfortable. It was good. There's pros and cons of working with family anytime. Mm-hmm. But that was part of the decision I made to do that. And then when I graduated, I began basically in forest management and procurement. I was buying timber, helping manage timber, helping James and Jeff, and also Brad. At that time, those were the ones working within the family members that were working in the business. So that has been my role, was my role for years. And then as we've grown and taken on more people, I've kind of become had to be more of a manager and overseeing other people and helping stepping into a lot of what Dad has done as far as keeping the operations going from a higher level to managing all the business as far as what needs to be done.
Okay. So my next question, and it's already kind of been answered, but I want to ask it anyways, if that's okay, is Harrell, you mentioned it. Wilson Brothers Logging is located in Risen, Arkansas, which is a smaller community here in Arkansas, one of our many small communities in the state. But it sounds like y'all chose Risen. Again, this wasn't supposed to be a business. It just kind of happened that way. But I guess this leads me to the question of why did you guys choose to build your new mill in Risen? Why stay in Risen?
Well, that was a no-brainer. I guess I moved out of the county 6 months one time with Warehouser and then moved back, and it was just home. Mm-hmm. We knew all the people, knew all the community, and was involved in all the community, and basically we didn't know we had any other place to go. And so we that was never a contemplating of any other place to go. Mm-hmm. And because there is a lot of small businesses in the forestry area that are a big part of the community. Sometimes there's more than one in a county, and sometimes there's more than one in a town. But they're all small business. There's mm-hmm. loggers, there's people that own land and timber. There's people that manage other people's timber and other people's land, and they do it from the standpoint of what's best for the timber industry. We can't separate conservative management of land from the business that you got, because you don't do. We didn't go into this business to be a one-time affair. I know the old Fordyce and Crossett Lumber Company that started. They come in here with the idea of buying up some land, buying a timber deed basically, and cutting the timber, and then moving back out. Well, they've seen that we don't want to do that. We want to stay part of that community. So the old Fordyce Lumber Company and Crossett Lumber Company became bigger companies and ended up selling out to Georgia Pacific later on, of course. But that's what happens in the forestry industry. From those industries, there was a lot of loggers that was in business and a lot of landowners that chose to buy the land and have it to be able to sell. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the timber industry in Arkansas, it is a makeup of a lot of small businesses. Of course, there's even you look at the Anthonys, who are one of the larger family-owned businesses in the state now. It started out small. Mm-hmm. It has grown to part of it and to be is very impactable to not only the town of Bearden and now to Malvern and others that they do, but all of those counties and all of those towns become part of that. You could name out all numbers of different mills that were started back even before ours that are still in existence and very impactable in the community they had from the employment standpoint and for the community volunteerism and from the activism that the owners and parts of those businesses have. School board members, community members, church members, all of these things that grow into making what we know today is Arkansas. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think that's one thing that we try to inform people about, and with this show, and specifically with this episode, is that these forestry businesses, call those towns home, just like everyone else there does. They don't want to see, anything bad happen to it. They want to see it flourish, because if it flourishes, they flourish. So I think that's kind of something important that we're trying to highlight, is the fact that this is their home just as much as it is, Joe Smith's home down the street,
Absolutely.
So, well, guys, I tell you what, I know we haven't gotten through a whole lot of questions yet, but we've all got good stuff. We're going to take a quick break right now so we can hear a little bit more from our sponsor this month, Visual Forester. Managing forests requires collaboration and communication across multiple stakeholders in order to be successful. When planning forestry projects, it's important for all parties involved to have a common understanding and vision for the future. Stand Designer by Visual Forester allows users a way to see the forest like never before. Stakeholders now have the ability to visualize the results of a prescription or reforestation before a single boot hits the ground. By using Stand Designer, you can see the before, after, and future of a site. Visit visualforester.com to learn more and download the application. You can use the code PODCAST to get a free trial month. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or custom project ideas you may have. Thank you once again to Visual Forester for their support of this month's episode. So guys, we're coming into the tail end of this episode, and I've got a couple more questions I want to toss your way. Let me ask you this, since we kind of tackled how forest industry and the businesses are important to a community, why do you think it's important for a business like y'all's to have that good relationship with its community and the people that live there?
One couple of reasons I can think of, especially in South Arkansas where we're located. It's a close-knit community. You've got our business in particular. You have people that are working in that business. So you need to have that relationship with the people that are working there within that business and that profession. And most all of the land that we deal with, landowners we deal with, are private landowners. So, and a lot of them are local, or they have local roots. So it's important to be able to connect with them and to have that foundation in that community, in the history of working well with the community, because that's part of the interest that they have as well.
And I guess, you guys have been there for 50 years and they haven't run you out yet, so you must be doing something right in that front.
Seems like it. Along that line too, when I was growing up, a lot of the people had to leave the community in order to get jobs. And back in that time, the traveling wasn't as easy, so they'd move out of the county. And now a lot of those, and when they would retire, they'd move back. Hopefully now that the businesses that we've got will allow some of those young people to stay at home and stay part of the family that they always wanted to be part of. And so that I think helps them and helps the community, because the ones that love the community is the ones that are going to help the community grow.
So what are some of the things that you guys are doing to help maybe give back a little bit to your community? I know the reason that we wanted to get you so close to December was because of your big Wilson Brothers barbecue that goes on earlier in the month. But that's an opportunity that has kind of grown from a free lunch for y'all's employees to a free lunch for the community, so to speak. So what else are you guys doing to kind of help give back?
Well, of course, Harrell is president of the school board now. James was president of it sometime before that way. We have always been active in the community. I grew up in 4-H, and from that had an outlook on the community that some people don't get. 4-H is a builder of character and a builder of communities, and so it is very important that the community stable in business wise, and so I like the idea that young people in high school have an opportunity to stay in the county and to stay in the town and to stay in to learn the business. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people in the forestry business, and especially the logging communities, that have, through hard times, has decided we don't want to be in that business. But people need to know now that some of the opportunities that we have in the forest industry now, some of the people that work 3 to 4 to 5 years in the forest industry today are making what college graduates do when they get out of college, mm-hmm. and they love it. They love the fact that they can be in the community, in an activity that they enjoy, running equipment, driving trucks, out in the woods, opportunities that we all enjoy, and they've enjoyed all of their life, and they can continue that.
And I think you bring up an interesting point too, kind of switching a little bit to green careers a little. It's not just forestry jobs don't just pertain to going out into the woods and cutting down trees or measuring trees or doing whatever. Like there's manufacturing jobs that play a big role in what we do here in the state and what you guys do, I'm sure. So there's a lot of different opportunities for people who may be interested in this type of career that they can kind of slot themselves into.
Yes, forestry has got some bad publicity over the years, mm-hmm. From environmentalists and others that didn't think that when you log a tract of timber, it's not pretty. Mm-hmm. And when you cut a cornfield, it's not pretty. When you get through with a cotton field, it's not pretty. Forestry is a little bit longer process mm-hmm. than that, so it is not pretty. But the forestry industry were the first environmentalists out there. Mm-hmm. We wanted that forest there because that was our livelihood. Mm-hmm. We didn't want it destroyed. That's what happened to I told you about the old Fort Addison Crossing Lumber Company. They seen the opportunity of the land reproducing for them and the jobs that it made for the communities, and some people overlook that mm-hmm. because they're not close to it, but we as a timber industry and as foresters and landowners and mill owners, we have always wanted that forest to be in top health. A healthy forest is a growing forest. Mm-hmm. A growing forest is one that has been managed and that's been harvests made out of and replanted and those, and so that's what makes this so important to it. One thing that we in the communities never did want to get real involved in was politics, and we allowed the politics to take over. Mm-hmm. Come up with some negative publicities. Over the years, we have become a lot more active in our legislative and political prospects, just because that we've seen the need for it to grow.
Okay. Well, guys, we're getting down to it. But one thing I wanted to ask both of you too: is there anything that maybe, if someone from the Rising community is listening, is there anything you want the Rising community to know after 50 years of letting them let you call that place home for the Wilson Brothers Lumber Company?
I would just say, thank you for your support and just being community staying the way it is. I mean, we've been fortunate to live there and be a part of that, and glad that we can call it home. It's to us it's unique. I mean, it's been home for several generations mm-hmm. for us, and we're just glad that we're part of it, and hope to continue that for years to come.
Most of our businesses that we're in was out of our gratitude to the people and to the community for what we done. We worked hard to make it successful and survive, but because of those businesses, a lot of individuals in the county have benefited from our businesses. Mm-hmm. But we have benefited a lot more from them than we've ever anticipated. It's fun to see a guy that has went into other aspects of businesses. Mm-hmm. That said, our first job was with Wilson Brothers on Saturdays, and so Donnie King, who is CEO of Tyson Food, he told me one time, he said, my first job was with Wilson Brothers Lumber Company, and said I was proud of it. But we was proud to have them. Mm-hmm. They played football. They played with our kids, and we enjoyed giving them an opportunity to have some money that they could get by the physical work that they did for us.
All right. Well, guys, is there anything else y'all want to say or y'all want to add before we wrap this up?
Thanks to the county of Cleveland County and the city of Rising, who has always been home and always will be home to us.
All right. Well, guys, thank you again. I really appreciate you guys stopping by and giving me a little bit of your time to talk about what you guys do. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Seth. Appreciate the work you do in the Arkansas Forestry Association for taking this time out for us.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, and we want to thank you guys as well for stopping by again this month. If you want to know some more information about the Arkansas Forestry Association, you can find us at arkforest.org. That's ARKFORESTS.org. And again, a special shout out and a thank you to Visual Forester for their support and their sponsorship of this month's episode. We also want to make sure we give a thank you to some guy named Rob McCormick for the use of our theme song, The Same Love. That's off of his album, The Folkster. You can find more of his music on Spotify or his website. And as always, we'll have a link to that website in the description of this episode. So make sure you join us next month when we'll have a new topic, a new discussion, and a new Voice of Forestry.